We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday when you hear this, and we're recording a Substack Live on Thursday night. It's been a while since I've been on Substack in a live. Well, it seems like it. It probably wasn't that long ago, but I'm always interested to find out what the folks out here are thinking about. We get a lot of great input from folks here, and we did a TikTok live yesterday, and that's busy as hell. I like the fact that this is a little less busy, far less Trump-a-fucks, and we can get down to some business and talking about important shit. And I got to tell you, there was a lot of important shit out there. Now, as I've told you before, doing these Substack lives, it's one thing for me to sit here and talk for an hour. I mean, I can do it, but it's fucking boring. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. So this is why it's important that we get some input from you and some comments and that sort of thing. Got the regular hellos here. Time is confusing right now, says Courtney. Yeah, Courtney, you're absolutely right. It's almost surreal. These are times we never thought we'd see, never thought could happen, and yet we're in the middle of it. A lot of us apparently got on some real fucked up timeline one way or another. So now it's just a matter of trying to figure out how to deal with it. And I think we're getting closer in some ways. Spacer says, can't wait till Saturday. Of course, he's talking about the No Kings protest. This is going to be interesting. I love how badly the Republicans are afraid of this No Kings protest. This could be the biggest protest in the history of this country. We could be looking at 20 million people plus. That said, Donald Trump already told us, yeah, I hear nobody's going. I heard nobody's going to show up. Yeah, Donnie, you can hope all you want, but you're going to be mightily embarrassed when this is all said and done. You've got Mike Johnson saying this is the Hate America protest. You've got some people saying, these are all friends of Hamas. That's not what it is. People are frustrated. They're scared. And we're not just talking about Democrats. We're talking about Republicans as well. We got Republican farmers, Republican merchants, older Republicans, younger Republicans. This is why it does scare them, because it's too many people. Courtney says, protesting in South Carolina, good for you. I love South Carolina. I have occasion to go down there from time to time. We have a place in Savannah, Georgia, and frequently go over to Hilton Head and some other areas of Bluffton and stuff like that. John Thune is starting to crack. Well, yeah, he's starting to crack a little bit, but what he suggested was a little fucked up, to say the least. Well, it's certainly not something the Democrats should accept. John Thune was suggesting, we'll set up an exact time to discuss the problems with the ACA and have a vote on it and all that. All you have to do is pass the CR, the continuing resolution. That's not going to work. You've lied to us and pulled the football out from us too many times. This is what happened when you fuck people over on a regular basis. Nobody trusts you. I don't care if it's John Thune or Mitch McConnell or whoever the fuck it was. And of course, Eric brings up Mitch McConnell. I thought this was rather funny, and some people might think it's insensitive of me. But this story would have been the top story maybe 6-8 months ago. This would have been a big deal. Mitch McConnell was walking through the halls of the Capitol, had like 3 or 4 people around him kind of propping him up. And he kind of turned a corner, and then that motherfucker went down faster than a redneck woman at a Trump rally. He was down on the floor. And what was funny is everybody scurried around and tried to pick him up. And when he finally got to his feet, he had this deer in the headlight look. And he just and he sees a camera and he goes, and people say, why are you happy about an old man getting hurt? I'll tell you why. Take a look at the fire that's burning around us. He is one of the culprits. He is one of the ones that started this fire. So this guy needs to suffer some pain. He needs to get some karmic effects to all the things he's done. Don't give a fuck about Mitch McConnell. And if his life henceforth is tortured and painful, he got what he deserved. Spacer says, sad bargaining, mind you. You're talking about John Thune. Yeah, just sign the CR and we'll talk about it later. Come on. Not even Chuck Schumer's that fucking stupid. Um, when a country tries to regime change country, they should probably keep it a secret. Why the Trump government is announcing their plans out loud is stupid. Yeah, I told that story on TikTok. So there was a report coming out. Now you know that Donald Trump bombed about 6 fishing boats. I think he did one today. No proof that there were any drugs on it. Donald Trump just does whatever the fuck he wants. And there was some talk about the prospect that they may do some things on the interior of Venezuela, maybe bomb some cartel people or whatever. But a story came out today that there's a report that they are sending in a covert CIA operation with the intention of overthrowing Moderna. I think that's his name. Madura. Madura. Moderna's uh, the COVID thing. But Madura, trying to overthrow him. And I was talking to my wife and I told her the story and she said, that's fucking stupid. I said, but you don't know what the stupidest part is. And she said, what's that? I said, remember what I said? This is a covert operation. She says, yeah. How does a dumb white guy in Minnesota sitting in his living room know about a U.S. government covert fucking operation? They can't even keep it a secret. They're going in there, and now they've given Venezuela all the advance notice, and this is probably going to cause problems, and maybe cause some problems with some terrorist folks here in this country. Donald Trump and his administration are dumb as fuck. James says the old man should be in a home enjoying his life. You're talking about Mitch McConnell. I don't care where he goes, and I don't want him to enjoy his life. He's had a wasted life. Spacer says the U.S. hasn't had a good history of successful doing regime changes. Look at Castro and Sukarno in Indonesia, and those were secret missions. Yeah, like the Bay of Pigs. How'd that turn out? Didn't turn out too well. I don't even know why. With all the things we've got going on in this country, why we're worried about Venezuela? We got bigger problems in Venezuela. How about fucking China? They're not buying our soybeans anymore, and our farmers are going broke. I think that's a bigger issue than what's going on in fucking Venezuela. Everything Trump does is stupid and buggle. That's what I've always said. Donald Trump always fucks up. No matter what he says he's going to do, no matter what his strategy is, that's the one thing you can be guaranteed. He will fuck it up. Will says because the Pentagon leaks like a sieve. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I took it another step and I said they leak like Donald Trump's diaper on Taco Tuesday. Yeah, it's a leaky motherfucker. Wilfredo says Mitch McConnell created his Supreme Court. Yeah, you don't like the Supreme Court, and I mean, who the hell does unless you're a Republican? That's the making of Mitch McConnell. So he has some dues to pay and some karma coming his way. Spacer says, and the Federalist Society. Yeah, absolutely. Saturday No Kings protests will show Trump the numbers aren't with him. The imbecile will be kicked in Europe, too. My aunt, who's native Chicago and will be in Germany protesting at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. Yeah, I mean, it'll be pretty apparent how many people are against him, how many people in the streets, 20 million plus people in the streets that are basically saying that Donald Trump and the Republican Party suck donkey dicks. That's what they're going to be saying. And will Donald Trump accept that? He'll probably lie about it. Oh, they're all paid. Or it never happened. It's a hoax. It's fake news. He'll try, but like Will says, he's scared, and he should be scared. I mean, this is how it works with these kind of people. They rise to the top and things get ugly for a while, but then they start losing control and they can't manage it. And then they start flailing and doing and saying just about anything. And that's where Donald Trump currently is at this point. Vincent says certain parts of the world is becoming more volatile. Heard that Madagascar had a military coup, Trump assaulting Venezuela, conflict in the Middle East. Yeah. How about that conflict in the Middle East? Didn't Donald Trump say that he got a peace deal in that Israel Hamas thing? First of all, it wasn't a peace deal; it was a ceasefire. Second of all, it wasn't his deal; it was Joe Biden's deal. And then on top of that, he's yelling and screaming about how great a job he did and how he should get the Nobel Peace Prize. But within 2 days, Israel already violated the ceasefire. So Hamas hits back. Now, Donald Trump is angry about this because he looks stupid. Must be angry all the time because he always looks stupid. But then he has the audacity to say if the Hamas doesn't stop killing people, even though it's Israel, he's going to send American troops in there. Oh, yeah, that great peacetime president, Donald Trump, you're going to send American troops into Gaza. That's a fucking brilliant move. The only dumber idea is to build a resort in Gaza, maybe the most volatile area in the world, and you want people standing in the middle of it. That's a brilliant idea, Donnie. Courtney says a relative of mine in Germany is mad we aren't doing more here. Well, Courtney, I understand that. I live in this country. I'm mad that we aren't doing more. There's a lot of things I think we could do. Not all of them legal, though I'll probably keep them to myself. But we are now getting down to drastic times call for drastic measures. Whatever the Republican or Democrats are doing isn't working, so maybe we need to kick it up a notch. What do you think of Schumer popping up Janet Mills at 77 to run for the senator? He's scared of losing. The establishment is losing. Yeah, like with Mondami as the New York mayor and the situation with the guy in Maine, the oyster fisherman farmer. Yeah, Schumer's very concerned about losing the establishment Democrats. Plantner in Maine is very popular. Mondami in New York City is very popular. The Democrats should get on board and take the win, but they don't like the younger people, the people that maybe think a little differently than they do. But let's look at the facts. We had the mainstream or regular Democrats in the 2024 election on November 5th. You fucking lost, so let's do something different. We need to get younger people in there. There is no reason in the world somebody my age or older should determine what the future will bring, because we won't be here for the future. My kids and grandkids will. So let's have some younger people come in and determine their own destiny. You should definitely keep to yourself. LOL. Yeah. I'm kind of confused what impact Trump and MAGA think they're going to have in Argentina when they send Milei money. They're having their midterms and they will most likely lose still. If Trump sends the money now, or if he did recently, the elections in Argentina are next week, I believe won't have much impact at all. But wait a minute. This is all just noise. This is trying to give Milei leverage. Listen to what he said. He said, we're going to give you 20 billion. Then he says he's going to give him 40 billion. But he said, if his guy doesn't get elected, I won't be so generous. So basically what he's saying, you have some financial problems because the radical right fucked it up, but we'll help bail you out with $40 billion if you vote my guy in. If you don't, I guarantee it, Donald Trump won't give them a penny. This is all kind of coercion to get people to vote the way he wants to. Don't you think it's ironic that the walrus is the only one indicted that might be a legitimate case, possibly having shown secrets to the family members? What a shame if the only one in this retribution campaign that stuck was a former MAGA he had hired. Yeah, we're talking about classified documents with John Bolton. And I will say this about John Bolton. I don't give two fucks what happens to him. He was a freaked out MAGA motherfucker, and he deserves whatever he gets. Now, the thing about it is if he had classified documents, 2 or 3 or whatever, yeah, that might be a legitimate claim. But I guarantee you this, he didn't have boxes and boxes and boxes of classified documents stuffed in his fucking bathroom like somebody else. So if we're going to go after John Bolton, why not give Donald Trump his due? But yeah, it's ironic that Donald Trump. See, that's the thing about Donald Trump. He gave an interview when somebody had told him that John Bolton had been indicted. He sat there and goes, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's the first time hearing from it about it." Yeah, right. And then he goes, "Well, John Bolton is a bad guy. He's a really bad guy." Well, it's interesting he would say that because if he's a bad guy, why the fuck did you make him national security advisor? Did you not investigate him? Did you not do your due diligence before you hired him? You told us you hire the best people. So you hire this guy, you get mad at each other, you fire him, he writes a book about you, and now you're um, indicting him to go to jail. Again, this is one of your guys. John Bolton is partially responsible for what's going on here today, so I don't give 2 fucks whether or not he gets convicted or not. If he spends 20 years in jail, good for him. I won't sleep any less if that happens. Now, what's going to happen, though, with Letitia James and James Comey, it's very likely that these won't even make it to trial because they're so weak and so stupid. So we'll see what happens. The actual next one in line was going to be Adam Schiff. I don't know why they didn't go after him next. He's the next highest level person, but instead they went with John Bolton. Maybe they're worried about trying to indict a sitting senator. And, Schiff is a lawyer too, and he's got a lot of lawyer friends. I don't know if he'll go after Schiff or not. I think Donald Trump will do the dumb thing and push them to do it, and he will look even further embarrassed. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent gets $20 billion for his hedge fund buddy invested heavily in Argentina, who's now selling China its soybeans to back-channel the laundered money by Trump's Russian puppet master. Yeah, no doubt. That Scott Bessent guy, he's problematic. I do not like him. He's a weaselly, smarmy, slimy piece of shit. And I hope after this is all said and done, he's one of those people that get indicted and ultimately get prosecuted. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't see this. I watched the debate with Mondami, Cuomo, and Sliwa. The media is brain garbage now, asking about what parades the mayoral candidates will participate in. Sliwa trying to hold Mondami, making it a social issue, but Mondami was confident to say that his job is to govern, not the pageant. Yeah, I don't worry about Sliwa. He's the Republican candidate. He's been kind of a slimy piece of shit since the 70s or 80s. He was the one that led the Guardian Angels, which was walking around New York, and he was the leader of this vigilante squad. He got some good press back in the day, but I think since then he's gone through some shit, some legal shit. He's not even a serious candidate for the Republicans, so that makes it easier for Mondami. Now, Andrew Cuomo has decided to stay in as an independent. He already lost to Mondami the first time. Why anybody would think he'd beat him the second time, I don't fucking know. But I think Mondami will win. I think that will cause a lot of problems in the Republican Party, and I think the Democratic Party is going to get a little freaked out too. Holding the line, that's to make up for his Bondi public tweet to not know anything about Bolton, I guess. Bren says all these indictments are bullshit. They're absolutely bullshit. They're ridiculous. Comey and Letitia James, I don't even think they make it to trial because they're so bad. All right. Courtney Busby says, breaking news. Greg Abbott announces he is sending the National Guard to after the anti-Trump No Kings marches in Texas on Saturday, hosted by Brian Tyler Cohen. Well, you can send them to Texas. It's a red fucking state. Who cares? There are over 2,000 protests going on in every state in America. I want to see him send the National Guard to every one of them. Good luck with that, Donnie. You want to go to Texas? Texas is a beautiful state and some good people in it, but they've turned it into a shithole. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas welcomes the National Guard in. Why don't you get the ones you sent up to Illinois? You got your own National Guard in Texas, but you sent them to Illinois. Your opinion on Virginia governor race. Don't think the black MAGA lady will win. No, I don't think so either. She's MAGA, so she's a little crazy. That will hurt her. The fact that she's black, the MAGA racist would never vote for a black woman. So, yeah, I think the Democrat will win, and that will make people nervous. Some of these off-year elections are going to make the Republicans nervous, especially if the Democrats win all of them, some of the unexpected ones. All right. I still want to know where the $50K FBI bribe money is and the goddamn Epstein file. The mainstream media is much too distracted by all the side BS stories. They just can't stay on task. That's why Trump gets away with everything, because nobody sticks with the questions. They always drop them like pussies. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. There is the story about this podcast. I think it's called the I've Had It podcast. Two women running it, and they talked to Cory Booker and kind of tore his ass apart. The way they handled that interview is how journalists should handle the interviews. And I've said it before: if a real journalist had interviewed Donald Trump in 2015, Donald Trump would have never been president. But we have all these complicit oligarchs that put the pressure on mainstream media to not do things like that. That's why I say watching mainstream media is a waste. You either get wrong information or not the full story, or stories that are tilted in the way that the wealthy oligarchs want you to see it. Spacer says, neither will Centrelli in New Jersey, now that I've heard of his story with the perpetuating opioid crisis. Yeah, it sounds like Democrats will do all right in New Jersey, too. Will says, Mondani ate Cuomo alive tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing the clips. I would have expected that. Andrew Cuomo is an old school politician. He's a fucking creep. He has no business to still be in the mix. I mean, he was governor. They ran him out. He had to leave in shame, and now he wants to run for the mayor's job? How the fuck does he expect to win that? All right. Cuomo stood there not knowing what to say. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Cuomo looked weak and a Trump lover. Yeah, that's got to be helpful for an alleged Democrat to be in cahoots with Donald Trump and not be really able to answer questions. Cuomo's a joke. Cuomo may even drop out before the election, which is in about 3 weeks. That may be the smart move, so he can save himself some embarrassment. But these arrogant fucks will double and triple down, so we'll see. Spacer says, going back to Brian Tyler Cohen, I'm tired of doomsday saying of him and Mark Elias announcing Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act after Saturday. Yeah, I get tired of these people. Brian Tyler Cohen and Mark Elias, they're fine people, they're smart people, but you have to understand everything they do is connected to making money, to get views, to get followers. So they've got to stir things up in such a way that everybody gets excited so they keep coming back. They're not completely free to say whatever the fuck they think because they're tied down to their business. I want to see Donald Trump invoke the Insurrection Act throughout the country with 20 to 30 million people walking the streets. How the fuck are you going to do that? No, I don't think that. Let's say this now, and I could be wrong, but even if he tried it, it wouldn't work. I'll say this now: Brian Tyler Cohen, and Mark Elias, they say that he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act. I'll say today that he won't do that. He can't do that, and we'll see who's right. Mondani looked calm, cool, and collected on Fox too. Yeah, he did. I saw cuts from that, and he did look like he looked pretty good. I mean, he looked like a solid candidate, and that's saying a lot. He's a young kid. He's like 33 years old. But that's what they need is more young people that can do that sort of thing. Um, Bad news for us Canadians and auto companies. Stellantis is moving out of the Brampton, Ontario, to the United States. Why are they doing that? To avoid the tariffs? I would imagine they are. I don't know too much about Stellantis. Will says, go ahead, invoke the act. I'm your huckleberry. That's kind of my attitude about this. Dare you, motherfucker. I dare you. Spacer says Hochul is looking over his shoulder. Most likely is why she endorsed Mondani. Her deputy governor, Antonio Delgado, is looking to primary her, and he's a young and level-headed guy. Turn the page on these former Cuomo people. I agree. And Hochul's one of the old people, too, one of the establishment. She needs to go, too. All the old people need to go. It's just tiresome. We even have some young people that aren't the best in as far as representing the people of this country. Michael says, yeah, let him go for it. Then the military will come out and show their true colors, which are not for Donald Trump. You know, for those people that suggest there's going to be an insurrection act, how do you go to the military and say that we want you to attack American citizens, which is absolutely contrary to what the Constitution says? He wants you to break your oath that you swore to the Constitution, all while you're not fucking paying them. How does that work? I just don't see that working. You know, it's funny. Donald Trump went to Pete Hegseth and said, find some money so we can pay the military. Have they been paid yet? Have they missed a check? Yeah, it sounds like they missed a check. Will he actually get them paid? Not for a while, and they're going to be pissed. How about the farmers? Have they been bailed out? He said he was going to bail them out, but have they been bailed out? No, they haven't. Donald Trump has no motivation to do this. Thoughts on these so-called young Republicans and their chat? Oh, wow. Like I say, when it comes to Republicans, they're leaky as fuck. So you got these young Republicans, 25, maybe 30, 35 years old, and they're going back and forth talking about racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, violent, treasonous shit. They were concerned. They knew what they were doing was bad because one of them said, boy, I hope this cat string doesn't leak out. We'd all be in trouble. Well, dumb fuck, that leaked out. And you people aren't only in trouble, you're done. You're literally done. J.D. Vance comes out and says, it's just a bunch of kids. They shouldn't lose their jobs over it. This is kids doing what kids do. Oh, they shouldn't lose their jobs, huh? Well, aren't you the same guy in the same group that tried to get people who didn't pay proper reverence to the death of Charlie Kirk to get fired? Sorry, these people, their faces have been plastered all over the internet, their names, where they're from. And you know what? And I don't mean to ugly shame people or shame any. Well, I do mean to shame somebody. Every one of those pictures of those guys that were making these comments look like the kind of guys that regularly got beat up in school and never had a date in their life. Just saying, that's what they look like. So when I hear something like that, I'm not surprised. What people have to understand, these are young people. They've got positions of power to a certain extent, or they're future leaders. And that's what you have to understand. When you look at the future of the Republican Party, that text chain is exactly what it is. So if you like the racism, the misogyny, the anti-Semitism, and the treason, that's your thing, you should support them. But if you don't, fucking do away with them. Schumer et al. Are supporting a 77-year-old for the Senate in Maine over Graham Planter. Yeah, it won't work. And the Democrats will look stupid. This Graham Planter has come off, he's pretty popular. He's a no-nonsense guy. He's saying the kind of things that people want to hear and haven't heard from Susan Collins or this other 77-year-old woman. This is not a time to put an elderly person in the U.S. Senate. Take a look at Mitch McConnell falling on his ass. Is that what you want? Somebody who can't even walk correctly and stay ambulatory and maybe can't even think cognitively? No, we need the young people back in there. So fuck the 77-year-old Senate candidate. Spacer says Schumer wants to create a Democratic version of Chuck Grassley. Jesus Christ, Chuck Grassley. Yeah. Chuck's lost a few steps too. I mean, this motherfucker is so old. It's ridiculous. I think he's so old that I believe he went to prom with Laura Ingalls Wilder, which is fucked up. And she broke up with him afterwards because he was a pussy. Anyway, Will says they are not young, they are adults. Well, I tell you this, Will, and maybe you can, when I refer to a woman in her 30s as a girl, it's not to be mean or dismissive. I'm 65 years old. My kids are in their 30s. So to me, they're boys and girls. They're kids. I understand they're adults. But it's a better perspective. Heard a combine company is moving out of the States to Germany to avoid the tariffs. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Holding the line. Yeah, all these young Republicans, they all look like George Santos to me. Remember him? Oh, I remember George Santos. Yeah, you're right. They do look like him. Kind of chubby, kind of geeky, kind of a loser. They do look just like him. Will says you mean like Stephen Miller? Yeah, Stephen Miller is a special kind of piece of shit. No one over 65 should be in Congress. I agree with you, and I happen to be 65, but I have no aspirations of being in Congress. I don't. I'm the exact wrong kind of person to be in Congress because I'm a white 65-year-old man. I don't want to determine what my kids are going to have to live with after I'm dead. Let them figure that out. Spacer says Kat Abigazala in Chicago, she raised more money than the establishment-backed candidate. Sakrat Sharabardi in San Francisco is having campaign events that are packed. Yeah, the young people are stepping up and they're getting the support, so that's good to see. Holding the line, I'll never forget Collins saying, I think she's learned his lesson, or he's learned his lesson after she voted against convicting the Trump the first time. Yeah, Susan. Donald Trump hasn't learned shit since he's been born. Remember, he had to have somebody take the SATs for him, so he doesn't know shit. Will says, I get you, but Van's talking like they are teenagers. Yeah. Yeah, well, he's trying to diminish the importance of this. But these kids and this chat string that was released or leaked, it is very important. These are the young people of this country, the Republicans of this country, and it's not crazy to think that that's what the future Republicans are going to be. And like I said, if you're okay with racist, anti-Semite, misogynistic, sexist, treasonous motherfuckers running this country, well, then you go ahead and vote for them. But I would say the vast majority of people in this country ain't buying that shit. Yeah, this is Vincent brings this up. Trump trying to intimidate California with some Navy live fire practice. I heard that, and that just sounds so fucking pathetic that he's trying to distract from the No Kings protest. Maybe even have a parade. How'd that first parade go? Yeah, how'd that first parade go? He's not going to intimidate anybody. I'd be surprised if that boat and that live rounds fire practice is actually going to happen. Will says, I hope Pelosi gets primaried. I hope so too. I mean, she's in her mid 80s. She's way past her expiration date. Pacer said, I've seen an interview with Tulsi Gabbard. I think it was an old interview, but she says she's looking at a potential Hawaii governor run. Good luck with that. She's the head of the NSA. That's probably a better job than the governor, but I'm sure she's looking at the demise of Donald Trump and this whole Republican bullshit, and she wants to get out while the getting's good. Don't go too far, Tulsi. There's going to be some investigations into you when this is all said and done. Will says firing tomahawks over populated areas. Yeah, I dare him to do that. That's not going to go over well. That's going to be a problem. This is part and parcel to why Donald Trump is, in fact, so desperate. He's really grasping for straws. He's trying to do virtually anything to distract attention from the No Kings protest. But here's the deal. Everything the Republicans are doing are just hyping it more. They're getting more and more people mad enough or aware enough to get out and protest. What are they going to do when there's 20 million people out there and they're going to have to explain how they're all paid for or they're violent? See, that's the thing. It's not going to be violent. So if it's not violent, how in the hell are they going to do the Insurrection Act? And even if they try the Insurrection Act, how are they going to do it all over the country? It's just not possible. Too many fucking people. You know, they tried something like that with martial law in South Korea. How'd that go? People got tired, they got pissed off, they stood up and they pushed back. That president ended up getting kicked out of the motherfucking job. I found out Elise Stefanik is running for New York governor, probably because she got sideswiped by Trump. Yeah, probably, and she sees what's going on. She knows the House and maybe the Senate are going to get absolutely decimated. She probably doesn't think that she could win the next race because of what's going on. So she thinks, well, maybe I could be governor. I don't think so, Elise. I don't think that's a possibility. That's not going to happen. Kim Jong-un likes doing that to Japan. Yeah, he does. Well, and Donnie, yeah, why don't you just emulate Kim Jong Un, your BFF in North Korea? How's it worked out for him? His entire country is starving and has a horrible economy. Well, that sounds like what Donald Trump is doing to the United States. Stewart says, on the upside, the entire world despises Trump and MAGA, just as Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin were despised, and we know what happened to them eventually. Well, that's exactly right. You know, all of these kinds of leaders always end up the same way, usually dead. And I'm not wishing death on anybody, but like Old Soul once said, I'm not wishing death on anybody, but I'm really anxious to read some obituaries. Anxious about that. Vincent says, yeah, firing missiles over populated areas like missiles don't have malfunctions or blow up midair. Look at Elon Musk missiles. Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, with Donald Trump and his record of fucking up, would you really want to send up those missiles with the possibility of it hitting a populated area? How do you come back from that? How do you spin that shit? Wilfredo says the Heritage Foundation has Trump playing with models. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Will, but I'm sure you'll expand on that. I'd be really surprised if he sent a boat out there and was shooting off missiles. You might try it for a distraction, but again, I'm talking 25 million people in the streets. It's going to take more than that to distract people from what really is going on. Um, Donald Trump is desperate. He is terrified right now. And I think it's important that we keep him that way. I know there's a lot of heat going on with Mike Johnson about swearing in Grijalva, and he may end up being forced to do it just by virtue of the embarrassment and the pressure. Spacer says, funny enough, Japan is going through some things with the far right. The far right candidate for Japan PM, Sanae Takichi, lost her coalition. Now she's looking to get help, a helping hand from the usual suspects like Trump or Musk. Models of the ballroom and this arc. Okay, well, I get what you're saying. The the model, the 3D models on the White House desk of his big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah, you're right about that. Did you hear about those Kristi Noem videos? Those videos that are supposed to run in the airports all over the country, and she was talking about TSA not getting paid, and it was because of the Democratic shutdown. Very politically minded. Most airports are saying, no, we're not running that. I know at our airport, MSP, Minneapolis St. Paul, they aren't running the video, and they weren't going to run it in the first place. But my wife, who works out at MSP, said they had something like 15,000 emails or notes that said, do not run that video. The vast majority of people don't want to listen to that shit from that cosplay Barbie Botox bitch. So we'll see. We'll see if that ends up running any place and how mad Donald Trump gets if they don't utilize his videos from his pet Department of Homeland Security director. By the way, I was going to mention something to you. I don't know if you've seen it yet. We were talking about those kids or those young adults that had that string of racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, and treasonous texts. You know, it's interesting. They showed the pictures of all the people that posted these things, so everybody knows who they are. Everybody knows their name. Their careers are essentially over. But there's also a number of pictures that Donald Trump took with these same people. That's interesting. That's not going to make him very happy. We're going to start seeing pictures of Donald Trump with all these racist fucks, this future of the Republican Party. Donald Trump's going to say, I barely knew him. I fucking barely knew him. Kristi Noem will be the first tribunal. Well, that's distinctly possible given her impact with ICE. You know, we've talked to some people. I know Will has suggested this too, that we may be looking at some Nuremberg type trials when this is all said and done. I mean, I think the point that's been made by some lawyers and such on TikTok is that if you're law enforcement and you have qualified immunity, you lose that qualified immunity if you're doing something to take away the rights of people. And they certainly are in this case, picking people up, detaining them illegally, kidnapping them essentially, and then ultimately sending them out of the country. When Donald Trump is no more, when Donald Trump is not in power, there's going to be some accountability for these people that committed crimes over and over again. And I'm talking about the members of ICE. So if you're in ICE, start expecting some investigations and very possibly some indictments to all you motherfuckers. Vincent, worried about other countries if Trump or any other corrupt companies try anything like what the United Fruit Company did in Guatemala in 1954. Yeah. That's the funny thing about what Donald Trump is doing. It's very reminiscent of a lot of things, whether it be 30s Germany or some of these other situations. He's taking situations that didn't work back then and he's trying it again. which is typical of a stupid motherfucker like Donald Trump. This is what I knew what would happen when we're dealing with this kind of personality. They get to the point when they believe they're out of control. They can't manage all that's going on. They can't spin everything. It becomes overwhelming. And then they start flailing, and then they start grabbing for anything. They're burning bridges, scorching earth. They're saying and doing anything. And this is when things start to fall apart. And that's what's happening to Donald Trump now. The only problem is good news. It looks like we're coming near the end. Bad news is up until we get to the end, it's going to get real fucking ugly up in this bitch. Wilfredo says ICE has committed crimes against humanity. When the truth comes out on their atrocities, it will be tribunals. And the thing about ICE, there are people that are gone. Nobody knows where they are. And when it all does come out, I think we will be amazed at how little we knew about the crimes that were committed by these fucks. These aren't the smartest people. These are people that wanted to be cops and couldn't get a job, so they just hooked up with ICE so they could carry a gun and act like tough guys. Soon enough, they won't be tough guys anymore. Why isn't anyone in Congress asking who is paying for the DHS propaganda videos and commercials? Is anyone going to sue for violating the Hatch Act? Well, you keep hearing about the Hatch Act. People say, well, they violated the Hatch Act, whether it be Democrats or Republicans. You never see anybody do anything about it. So I think it's one of those things that's really never enforced and people just don't do. But when it comes to money, there is going to have to be some accounting when it's all said and done. And Donald Trump, the DOJ, and the Defense Department, they're spending money all over the place and nobody knows where it's coming from. When this is all said and done, there's going to have to be an accounting, and it will be exposed of how money was wasted or laundered or just stolen. And I think we'll find that there's going to be quite a number of fucking crimes committed. Vince, an opinion on the crypto crash that happened recently. Never believed in crypto. Thought it was some big scam. Yeah, I'm expecting, and there will be people who disagree with me. I don't know enough about crypto to really speak intelligently about it. But when you invest in something that is not tangible and it's basically you're betting on nothing, as fast as it can gain money, you would have to presume it can lose money just as fast. That seems too much of a gamble at this point. So, yeah, I'm not surprised there's a crash, especially with what Donald Trump is doing to the economy. I hope it crashes real hard because Donald Trump has a lot of money tied up in crypto, and I would love to see him drained of it. Trump and Putin are trying to destabilize the EU. Orban is holding the EU policy hostage, and Erdogan is making chaos, arresting political opponents. The Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland, are saying, go it alone, form their own coalition. Yeah, I think there's something to that. When you've got people doing everything they can to sabotage shit, it's better just to let them go sabotage their own shit and do it on your own. James says they don't even enforce the Constitution. Why would they enforce the Hatch Act? Excellent point. At this stage, with who's in control of the Congress, the DOJ, the Supreme Court, and the White House, they're going to let anything fly. The only thing we can do is somehow get control of the House and the Senate and stop all this shit. But at the same time, we as a people have to do something. Show our power. We did it once when they fired Jimmy Kimmel, and in 72 hours, we basically backed Disney down. If we can do it there, we can do it with the U.S. government. And maybe this No Kings protest that's coming up Saturday may be one of those things that is the beginning of the change here. Let's see here. Trump needs the anonymity of crypto's blockchain. Yeah. Donald Trump loves the anonymity, doesn't he? I'm just looking forward to that time when he has to speak under oath and he has no power. I want to see what he does. You notice that in all the time that Donald Trump has been in politics, not once has he spoken under oath, which makes some sense because he's a pathological liar and it wouldn't make any sense. And plus, Donald Trump doesn't like being asked hard questions. He'd like to get up and walk away when that happens. That's why I'm saying if journalists had done their jobs in 2015 and pressed him on some of the bullshit that he said, he might not have ever been president, let alone president twice. So, yeah, we'll see what comes of it. The crypto thing, I don't know enough about it to really speak intelligently. Don't really care about it. Not invested in it. Wouldn't invest in it because it's like a gamble. To me, if you invest in crypto, it'd be kind of a short-term thing. You put it in, hopefully it goes up, you pull it out and get the fuck out of there. Um, I just heard Cori Bush is running for her old seat. I wish Jamal Bowman would return because the way things are going, they'd probably win. Yeah, you're probably right. Jamal Bowman kind of fucked up. Didn't fuck up with what he was doing, but he fucked up by getting caught. Remember, he was in the Capitol. I don't know what was going on. It was the votes or on something, and he pulled the fire alarm, and then he said he didn't. But of course, there's video of him doing it. That was just this was a dumb move, and he should have known better that there would be a camera there and that he would be excoriated for doing it. But sometimes I'm surprised by politicians. They do some of the stupidest shit. Let me give you a case in point. Donald Trump doesn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. Everybody's upset about it. Certainly Donald Trump is upset about it. But even the Republicans are upset about it. Some representative in the House said they were going to try to start their own discharge petition and get a vote, which makes no sense. Why would they need a discharge petition if they're Republicans and Mike Johnson is a Republican? I don't even think they understand what a discharge petition is. Anyway, but they wanted to get a vote to make sure that Donald Trump did get the Nobel Peace Prize. Are you fucking kidding me? Really? Do they not know that Congress has no control over the Nobel Peace Prize? That the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't even come from this fucking country. It comes from Sweden. And Sweden doesn't control it. It's an independent agency. So you're going to pass something in Congress to force them to do it? I fucking doubt it. I know you're not going to be able to do that. I wanted to mention one other thing. We're getting down close to the end here. And I was talking about that podcast. I've had it podcast. Two women do the podcast. They do a great job. They had Cory Booker on. And they were asking him about AIPAC. He was sitting up there suggesting, I don't get any corporate money. And they said, well, you do get AIPAC. And then he kind of stuttered and stammered. He said, yeah, but it's just a small amount. Well, if you're getting bribed, even a small amount is not right. Said, I only get a small amount and it's not a big deal. And I got all these other small money, $25, $30 small donors with the most of my money. Well, that's fine. Then get rid of AIPAC. That's the one thing you have to be concerned about is that we have AIPAC basically funding virtually everybody in Congress, Democrats and Republicans. So we have this AIPAC from Israel basically controlling the votes of our American representatives. If you don't think that's problematic, then you're not paying attention. But I will tell you this. We need to push that issue, force these people to stop taking AIPAC. And I will tell you this. There is one guy who came up. His name is Seth Moulton, a Democrat from Massachusetts. He said today he's returning all of his AIPAC money. Good for him. Be the role model for everybody else. Everybody take their AIPAC money, send it back to Israel and say, fuck yourself. We're going to run this country and we're going to serve the people of this country as opposed to whatever the Israelis want us to do in this country. That's a problem. Vincent Johnny says the Chinese have an edge on manufacturing and a monopoly on rare earth minerals, but this military is untested with unknown military equipment. Holding the line, a Florida Republican just submitted a bill to require teachers to take an oath to the government. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get a lot less teachers. And then when you don't have teachers, you don't fund education. What are you going to have? You're going to have a bunch of dumb fucks, which is weird because it's Florida, so they're already a bunch of dumb fucks. But now your offspring won't even have a chance to get educated. Nobody wants to work in conditions like that. This is going to be a boom for blue states. All the doctors are going to want to work in blue states. All the teachers are going to want to work in blue states. And then the red states are going to cry and whine because they've got nobody to educate or take care of them. And frankly, they deserve it. Jennifer Lynn said to his face, "You are getting $800K from AIPAC." Exactly, Will. And, that's the kind of thing that should have been done from the beginning. State the fact, make them answer the question. And if you watch that, you know that, of course, Cory Booker didn't answer the question. The way he spun around and diverted and distracted, he sounded like a fucking Republican. And that's what we have to understand. We have Republicans. Well, we have a complete dumpster fire with the Republicans. We have problems with all of them. But we've got quite a number of people in the Democratic Party that are problematic too. And I would say Cory Booker is one of them. I had high hopes for Cory Booker. I thought he would be great. He had some flashes of greatness, but for the most part, he's bought and paid for. We don't need people like that. Same goes for Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and some of the others. We have some real problems in our Democratic Party. We got to get the Republicans taken down, and then we need to clean house with Democrats. Spacer says, "I think Saturday is going to prove that the gerrymandering stunt won't work here in Ohio. Republicans are being cute with the rules for redistricting here in Ohio. This will be the bud that will lead Amy Acton to beat Ramaswamy, among other things." Ramaswamy. Do you really think Ramaswamy has a chance? He's an immigrant. He's a brown guy. And he's a loudmouth piece of shit. Are the Republicans going to vote for him? The fact that he's a loudmouth piece of shit is the only thing he has going for him. They aren't going to vote for a brown immigrant guy to be their Republican candidate or get elected to any particular office. Ramaswamy is a joke. I mean, he was in the presidential run for a time, and he backed out of it because he knew he had no chance, and Donald Trump told him to probably go away. I'm sure he's hoping that Donald Trump will endorse him for the governorship, but I can't imagine that's even going to work. All right. We are coming to the end here. Spent about an hour doing this, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate the folks in the audience for showing up, participating, giving your questions, perspective, and all that sort of thing. Without that, it's really hard to do this, so I appreciate it very much. For those of you listening, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.